I made a mistake. Actually, I made a mistake around 2 years ago. As 2 years ago, I made a video looking at what happens if you attempt to destroy every faction in Fallout 4 the second you meet them. And really just trying to destroy every individual NPC as soon as you meet them, just going full guns blazing. That actually ended up being my most viewed video and continues to be, except I actually made a mistake in that. Bethesda totally accounts for the fact that some people would want to go guns blazing and adds in almost a hidden feature around that, one that I totally missed while making that original video. As some of you may have seen, just a couple of days ago, I covered an incredible new Fallout 4 mod that makes it so you do have a legitimate way to destroy every faction. You do this on your own accord without having to meet or interact with everyone. And between my mistake in the original video and now having a mod that actually gives us a way to destroy every faction, I figured it was time to revisit this concept and actually do it right this time. And during this journey, over the past couple of days of playing through Fallout 4 and basically just trying to shoot everybody I see as soon as I see them, I discovered several very interesting features that I, 1, didn't even know about in my original video, and 2, kind of shocked me. There are several loopholes or interesting mechanics you can get as a result of this. And although, as I mentioned, there are mods that allow you to take down certain essential NPCs or even now blow up factions in their entirety, my goal with this was more so just to go from a vanilla approach. What did Bethesda intend if you wanted to download some of your favorite weapon mods and go to town on everyone? This video took a while to make, and this month is also one of the lowest for ad revenue on YouTube. So if you guys do want to check out my merch store, I have this pretty cool Commonwealth shirt. It's actually one of my favorite designs I've done thus far in the merch store, but there's a few other designs on there if you want to check them out, and you get 15% off everything with the coupon code DESTROY for the next 48 hours. Otherwise, jumping into Fallout 4, the start of the game is actually very simple. Like every Fallout 4 playthrough, I immediately left the vault and worked my way over to Concord to confront Preston Garvey, except he was gone? I don't really know what happened there, but as I was fighting off some of these raiders, I actually found Preston running down the street.
Hey, up here, on the balcony. I've got a group of settlers inside. The raiders are almost through the door. Grab that laser musket and help us, please!
But as I worked my way inside and cleared through the Museum of Freedom for what is probably the 100th time, I now found Preston and friends right where they should be. In my immediate attempts to gun them all down, you'll find that Preston and friends are marked as essential, at least for now. Thanks to Sim Settlements Conqueror, I technically had the option to execute them at will, but that's a concept we'll revisit at a later time. And at least for now, as many times as I tried to take down each and every one of them, they would keep getting back up. So for the time being, Preston Garvey would remain in the Museum of Freedom, but don't worry, we'll return to him. Next up on the list was everybody's favorite, that with the Brotherhood of Steel. I made my way towards Diamond City and on the way picked up the Brotherhood of Steel broadcast. Making my way to the police station, I found them fighting off the ghouls and actually couldn't kill them. If you attempt to take down the Brotherhood of Steel members as they are still in combat with some of those ensuing ghouls, nothing will happen. Just like Preston and friends, they will continuously get up. Desperate for progress at this point, I transitioned to fighting off the ghouls with the Brotherhood. A short fight later, I finally achieved the quest milestone, and then now I did find success against the Brotherhood. Firing on Danse initially, all 3 members immediately become aggro to you. Although, something interesting, if you kill any of the 3, it'll immediately fail the initial Brotherhood mission with fire support, and as a result, permanently aggro the remaining 2 members against you. From there was a short fight. Reese discovered that, oh, his legs actually do work now. Paladin Danse put up the biggest challenge of the 3 of them, but once he was down, the Brotherhood in Appalachia, at least for now, was totally destroyed. And considering I had failed that initial quest, it didn't seem like there was any recourse to actually progress any storyline with this faction from this point forward. But moving on, just a short walk away, I was able to go to the Old North Church. After screwing up the railroad code like 4 times, I finally was able to gain entry, and this is where I was able to break out the big guns. Once I was finally able to get far enough away to cancel the dialogue, I took down Desdemonda and her friends, including our potential friend Deacon. Deacon's an interesting one in that you can actually take him down right off the bat without any interaction, despite the fact that he later could be a companion. He is a unique character in that sense. Although, can anyone explain to me what happened here? I realized in editing that Desdemonda actually was aggro to me before I pulled the trigger, or before my shot fired at least. You can see her red dot pop up a couple seconds before I shoot anything. I guess when they say don't move, they mean that quite literally. Shortly after taking out my welcoming party, I was able to clear out the rest of the railroad headquarters. None of this was really all that strange or questionable, a lot of just fighting the miscellaneous railroad members, except for one. Despite the fact that I took out the entire base here, Pam was actually not aggroed to me. Pam was just patiently waiting there to see what would happen next. I really contemplated what fate I should provide to Pam here, but considering she would just be stuck in a cave for the rest of her life, I did decide to end it all, and here too I found out that Pam actually has a passive AI. When you attack her, she will just run away and not fight back, which did make it feel a little bit worse. But just like that, in about 10 minutes of game time, I was able to completely destroy 2 of the factions in Fallout 4. As with the Brotherhood of Steel, the Railroad also had no avenue for progression now. My quests with them were failed. My only 2 remaining options were the Institute and the Minutemen. But of course, with this, to actually get to the Institute, to have that Judgment Day with Father, I had to actually progress Fallout 4. Now, of course, at this point, me and Preston aren't exactly on speaking terms, so I needed to go a different route. This too is a little lesser known feature of Fallout 4. You can actually go directly to the Park Street station to rescue Nick Valentine. It's actually the furthest ahead you could skip in Fallout 4 just immediately after walking out of the vault. So from here I worked my way through the station, eventually made entry to Vault 114 and cleared out all of the baddies. Here of course you'll have to rescue Nick Valentine to progress the main story. You could try taking him down immediately, but nothing will happen. There's a common theme throughout all of Fallout 4 I discovered via making this video. Most of these story NPCs cannot be killed. They'll just be down, get back up, and be like, oh, hey, what's up? Or some of them do remain pissed off, especially if there's other allied NPCs around. And then from there, more of the same, making your way out of Vault 114, although you actually do have a unique dialogue option if you play this way with Nick Valentine. When he stops you just outside of the station, he'll say, how did you find me? In most typical playthroughs, you'll be able to respond by saying Ellie had sent you, because that's typically how you would end up here. But here, if you go directly to Valentine, you could actually respond with luck.
Honestly, I was just there at the right time. Seemed like you needed help.
I appreciate it. But a good Samaritan in these parts is liable to end up on the wrong side of a loaded gun. I should know. I want you to come to my office in Diamond City. Give me all the details. Besides, I think you've earned a chance to sit down and clear your head.
From there, it's much more of the same from him. You just make your way back to Diamond City, although even there, you actually do have quite a bit of a modified interaction. As if you just go directly to Nick Valentine and rescue him, you will skip over the Jewel of the Commonwealth quest and not have to deal with the whole Piper trying to get into Diamond City segment. As you go to Diamond City now, the door will be open. Piper will be talking to the mayor, but you can just walk straight past them and continue the main story. And frankly, if you're somebody who is consistently replaying Fallout 4 or starting a lot of new playthroughs, you should always probably go this route of just immediately rescuing Valentine. It definitely expedites the early stages of the game. From there, you'll do the typical Valentine quest. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of additional unique dialogue until it comes to meeting Dogmeat. Considering I totally skipped over Red Rocket and just went straight to Vault 114 after the Museum of Freedom, you also have unique dialogue around this, as Nick Valentine describes Dogmeat as his friend, not your own trusted companion yet.
This is your friend? He's a dog.
That's right. Commonwealth mutt like him can track a man's scent for miles. Show him the cigar. He'll pick up the trail.
From here, I just went scorched earth on everything I saw, eventually making my way over to Kellogg. And outside of Dogmeat and Valentine still being regarded as essential, everybody else you could always take down immediately without interaction. And that was with the arrival of the Brotherhood of Steel. I had already wiped out all Brotherhood presence in this area. So would they immediately start attacking me? Would they try and fight me? But no, not yet at least. It seems like this whole Brotherhood Pridwin entrance is a scripted event, because despite my best efforts and even some pretty substantial firepower, I can't damage any of the vertibirds or the Pridwin overall. Each of these things are invulnerable, which I must admit is disappointing. I really wanted to blow up those vertibirds. From there, as you return to Nick's office to discuss your findings, you actually have Piper there, who just totally acts like you know each other, despite the fact that at this point I had never interacted with Piper. All throughout this conversation, she's basically acting like we did have that intro quest or that intro interaction, and even further, once it ends, she's just available to be your companion, despite, again, us never directly talking to each other. As you make your way over to Good Neighbor to go into Kellogg's brain, if you just immediately take down Finn, you also get some unique dialogue with Hancock.
I like you. Walk into a new place, good neighbors.
I'm sure most people know about this one though. It is fairly common to go this route, especially in subsequent playthroughs. You can just run straight through this memory sequence. You don't actually have to stop at any of those memories. And from there I was on the path to Virgil. And one destroyed Children of Adam camp later, I was at his residence, which unfortunately you can't kill Virgil, at least not yet. This is one that kind of disappointed me. I really was hoping I could just shoot him here and take the schematics for myself, but unfortunately Bethesda did not plan this far ahead or not give us this option. But of course, from here we have to get the Courser chip, and this is where I fell short in my initial video. Typically after getting the Courser chip, you're going to go to Tinker Tom and let him do his thing. But in this aspect of Fallout 4, with the railroad already destroyed, you have a unique opportunity here in that you basically just do it yourself. As you go to Tinker Tom's terminal, you could find a totally unique entry, where he does describe, if you're reading this, the telemetry off my biological implant went night-night. So to my hopefully worthy successor, you got to know about the Circuit Analyzer. It's my life's work on Reverse Engineering Institute Tech. The Circuit Analyzers got built in all the tricks I picked up on scanning their chips and circuit boards. So plug her in and let Tinker Tom's patented decryption algorithms hold your hand from there. And then from there, it is actually very simple. You literally plug in the Courser chip, let the decoding process finish, and then you are just given all the information. And it naturally progresses Fallout 4 as you would expect. So from here, after wrapping things up with Virgil, who you still can't take down, I tried again after this step, you are tasked with gaining access to the Institute. And of course, to do that, you typically have to side with one faction or another. And actually that is the only route you can take here outside of using hacks or exploits or mods. In vanilla Fallout 4, the way things are set up is the Minutemen are always going to be the background faction available to you. I wasn't able to finish them off in the beginning, and you aren't able to finish them off ever because this is the only way I have now to progress the game. So unfortunately, I had to make my way back to the Museum of Freedom. Despite my numerous attempts at finishing off Preston Garvey and co, it seems like they've all but forgotten, and upon my return, I actually got some unique dialogue, as despite me never properly interacting with Preston otherwise, I can immediately prompt him around Virgil's schematics.
I was told the Minutemen might be able to help me figure out these schematics.
The Minutemen? I'm afraid you're looking at them. It's just me now. And as you can see, we're in a bit of a mess here.
But then it just transitions into Preston Garvey and the Minutemen's life story. From there, you're required or tasked with helping the Minutemen like you normally do with the Museum of Freedom, although here I had an immensely interesting interaction. As I was clearing out the raiders from Concord like you typically do, I suddenly began getting shot at from a different direction, and it was here I discovered what was effectively a Brotherhood of Steel kill squad that was after me. And this squad was no joke. It was 4 or 5 people strong, most of them initially in a vertibird, armed with miniguns and power armor and just all around being way too tough of a fight for my level 8 character at the time. Now fortunately I of course wasn't going to actually let myself die, that's why we have console commands, but it seems like the way this works is if you take out Danse initially, then the Brotherhood of Steel as a larger faction does arrive, you will find yourself getting these miscellaneous interactions from time to time where more or less a Brotherhood kill squad will come after you. Now most of the time these guys aren't directly coming after you, they might just be flying around, but once they spot you, they'll lock on and attack you. I actually had this interaction several times while completing this video after this point. It was just kind of crazy that it happened literally as I was exiting the Museum of Freedom, and it made this whole fight a lot more interesting, a lot more dramatic, and a lot harder. The Brotherhood wanted vengeance for the loss of Danse and co, and they were putting some serious firepower behind getting that vengeance. But of course, I eventually reigned supreme and was able to clear out all of the remaining enemies until I found that somehow Preston was mad again. I have no idea what happened here, but after taking down the raiders, taking down the Brotherhood, I walked back in and Preston just started trying to kill me. I actually don't know how to explain this. Perhaps he was angry I killed the Brotherhood, but that seems weird. Either way, after waiting a few days, Preston did calm down again and I was able to have him return to Sanctuary. Here, we could discuss the schematic plans a bit further, but he required that I helped out some of his settlements before we could build the teleporter to get to the Institute. And this is what'll kick off that initial Corvega quest, except here, I actually discovered something I never knew you could do in Fallout 4 that is immensely helpful, as Preston does tell you about that first settlement that needs your help. If you go to that settlement directly and just kill the settlers, you can immediately return to Preston, tell him, oh yeah, sorry, it didn't work out, and he'll just make you the general of the Minutemen. The dialogue there isn't exactly unique. You'll kind of get that dialogue whenever you actually take down settlements or don't do their quests, just kill the settlers. I know because I did it several more times throughout the rest of this video. But yeah, if you never want to clear Corvega again, there is no downside to doing this. And then from there, after establishing the teleporter and relay at Sanctuary with the help of Sturges, I was finally able to go to the Institute. Effectively, at this point, you were progressing the Brotherhood questline, going into the Institute like you were siding with them. There's really no way to avoid that, especially considering I already killed the Railroad and Brotherhood. As you enter the Institute, you'll go through the typical sequence, find Sean, have that typical dialogue with him, and then finally the moment I spent the better half of a day trying to get to, my first interaction and face-to-face with Daddy, which I immediately gunned him down before he could say anything. So this part I was actually immensely surprised at. It changes your quest objective for the quest Institutionalize, which is the initial Institute quest when you arrive here, to just exit the Institute, but otherwise nobody seemed to care that I killed Daddy. It actually seems like the reason for this was that Sean was disabled at this point, like the robotic Sean, so nobody witnessed me kill Daddy. But from there I was just kind of free to leave. I took down some of the remaining synths, even though I didn't have to. I could have just walked past them, but guns blazing, you know. The elevator ride back down is hilarious because there's a ton of people in the Institute that want to kill you, but they can't get to you. You're just in a giant glass tube. You have a few more combatants along the way, but in the end, you can exit the Institute freely, and what you'll find is the teleporter you used to initially get there is now destroyed, and you've more or less lost access to the Institute overall. You complete the institutionalized quest, but otherwise continue on the Railroad direction of fighting against the Institute, as that's one of the only avenues you still have, which of course requires you to get a bunch of settlements, which I didn't want to do. One of the other big lingering questions I had around this was, what happens if you go to the Brotherhood of Steel at the Pridwin? Was there any recourse, any actions you could take with that faction if you do kill Danse and friends immediately? And the short answer is no. Arriving at the Boston airport, you'll immediately find the ground forces of the Brotherhood coming after you. It's a decent fight, but once you clear throughout all of them, you'll find you actually can't get on the Pridwin if you play the game this way. Similar to how you seem to lose access to the Institute, since you never got a quest marker to go to the Pridwin, and since you didn't progress the Brotherhood storyline enough for a vertibird to appear here, or even to appear at the police station, you can just kind of look at it. Now, of course, using console commands or even some cheats to show all map markers, you can still teleport onto the ship and end up just wiping everyone out. Everyone on the ship will be immediately aggroed to you, but technically, in legitimate play, you are barred from ever entering the Pridwin if you don't progress the questline at least a little bit, short of using some kind of exploit or just trying to jetpack your way up there. And frankly, from there, that's kind of it. I couldn't find any other reactions or changes from the world. You'll still have to progress the game with the Minutemen, but you'll more or less just be playing normal Fallout 4 at this point. You could still go the route of fighting against the Brotherhood or even blowing up the Institute, even though Father's already dead. I started doing this for the purposes of this video just because, even though I kind of knew nothing would be different. But then during one quest, Preston actually glitched out and was permadowned. And frankly, with the perpetual possibility of just using the execute option on him as he's stuck in this state, despite me waiting several days, I just did it. This, of course, is a modded outcome. You can't do this in vanilla Fallout 4, but after executing Garvey, executing all of his friends, you'll find that Fallout 4 is basically just unprogressible. So to answer the question initially stated in this video, if you destroy every faction, or at least every faction leader in Fallout 4, what will happen is you have to side with the Minutemen, because it's the one faction you can't destroy. But if you actually destroy every faction using some third-party tools, like mods, then you just can't beat the game. Unfortunately, Bethesda did not account for this. There's no yes man route where you could have a third party you could side with unless you do something like use a Diary of a Modman, the recent mod that actually gives you this as a more legitimate path. So yeah, it was a long time coming, this fix or updated version of the video, but hopefully you found it informative. I discovered a lot about Fallout 4 doing this. There's a lot of little interactions that I just didn't know would be a thing. I didn't expect them to occur, as Bethesda actually accounts for some of these unique decisions that you can make throughout the main story, although unfortunately at certain other points they don't account for them. But hey, at the very least, we have modding to make up that side of things also. As always, again, I thank you all for watching. Hopefully you found this video informative. If you want to check out more Fallout 4 content, I of course did just upload that other video looking at a modded approach to the same exact problem. But until next time, I thank you all again for watching, and I hope to see you all later.